Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Jose. I'm a photographer specializing in food here in Miami. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Loupedeck. I'm going to tell you all about what it is, what it does, and why it's a benefit to have it. We're also going to go into some features of it, and you're going to see how this tool can make your editing a heck of a lot easier. So when I was editing my photos, I always noticed that every time I was going to go in there with the mouse, it was always going to be a little bit of a pain because you don't have a whole bunch of range of motion when it comes to moving the sliders, and sometimes you move it a little bit too much and it goes a little bit too far, or you take away too much of what it is that you're trying to manipulate. So when I found out about the Loupedeck, it was probably about 5 minutes from finding out about it to actually purchasing it. I knew that this was going to make my editing a heck of a lot faster, a heck of a lot more efficient, so I knew it was going to be a good investment. So what is the Loupedeck? The Loupedeck, it's a keyboard with knobs and buttons that give you the ability to make all of your changes on Lightroom on an actual keyboard, instead of going in there with the mouse and making those movements with the mouse. It's a great feel because you have all these rotator buttons that help with making super precise changes. Those precise changes make us better editors, and being able to make those changes quickly makes us even more efficient, which of course, when you're running a photography business, we want to make sure that we take those shoots, we get them edited, and we get them delivered as quick as possible so that we can continue to move on and get to the next job. Having this Loupedeck has completely changed the way I edit. I used to unload all my photos, go through them, sort them out, and then have to go in there and start manually editing with the mouse, and it wasn't a difficult process. It was a more tedious process. When I purchased this Loupedeck and started using it, it made editing so much more fun. You can do a lot more, and you can get a lot more creative just because you don't feel so held back by something as silly as the way that the mouse feels in your hand. So most of the controls that I use are the rotator to rotate the photo and be able to crop it as I need to. The other tools that I use are my basic exposure, contrast, saturation, black points and white points. All of the general tools that we use generally to edit a picture, I use that every single time. And then sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, the HSL settings, you can select on the actual keyboard. There's a section up on top where you can select saturation, hue, and luminance, and then you have these rotators for each individual color that allow you to go in and manipulate the HSL for each color. So one of my favorite features on this thing is the export button. I know it sounds kind of silly, but every time that I was exporting a batch of photos, it would either be file export or right-click export, and obviously over time that does take up a lot of time. So being able to have that button where I can just click it once and it brings up my export window is a huge time saver. So the idea with this keyboard is that your hands remain on this keyboard and they're not all over the place moving from the mouse to the other keyboard when you're trying to make changes in Lightroom. This also works on Capture One if anybody's using Capture One. This new Loupedeck, the second version, will work for Capture One. But as I was saying, if you're in Lightroom making all these changes, you want to try and stay on one platform because it is going to make everything a heck of a lot easier for you. So if you didn't know anything about the Loupedeck, I hope that you learned something about it now. Again, it's a fantastic product. They're not paying me to say this. It's just something that I learned about. I used it immediately and I fell in love with it just because it was a tool that made my life easier and better. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button and hit subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next one.